The only people who should vote in American elections are American citizens. There's no debate about it. Republicans do not thumb our noses at election integrity, for we understand that Americans deserve free, transparent, and fair elections. The SAVE Act presents us with an opportunity to add additional layers of protection to elections right here in our own country. It's an opportunity worthy of bipartisan support.
While this administration is busy putting our troops at risk, while our economy is crumbling because of Trump's erratic obsession with tariffs, while students are literally getting kidnapped off our streets by masked ICE agents because they wrote an op-ed that Donald Trump didn't agree with, what are my Republican colleagues doing? Are they focused on fixing things or making Americans' lives better in any way? Of course not. They are making it harder for women to vote, doing favors for their billionaire donors, and trying to undermine the Constitution by eroding the independence of an independent judiciary. The SAVE Act is a voter suppression bill. That's all it is. 69 million women who have married and taken their spouse's name do not have a birth certificate. They do not have a birth certificate they could easily use to register to vote if this bill were to become law. Nothing in this bill guarantees they could use marriage licenses and name change documents to prove their identity. Nothing in this bill says that. It's about taking away the right of women to vote, plain and simple. Madam Speaker, a majority of Americans now say that Donald Trump is doing a bad job in handling the economy, and I don't blame them. Prices are going up on everything, in large part because of Trump's tariffs. Meanwhile, wages for workers have not kept pace with inflation for decades. Home ownership is slipping out of the reach for more and more people. And so I will end this debate where we began. Whose side are my Republican colleagues on? Talk is cheap, Madam Speaker. This place runs on hot air from corrupt politicians whose only care in the world is where their next campaign check comes from. Last night in the Rules Committee, Democrats gave Republicans a chance to show whose side they're on. Every single one of them voted against protecting Medicaid so they could give tax breaks to billionaires. That's how they voted. Every single one of them voted against protecting the child tax credit so they could give tax cuts to billionaires. Every single one of them voted against protecting food assistance for hungry families so they could give tax breaks to billionaires. And so the gentlelady can claim whatever she wants. The truth is this budget betrays the middle class in favor of tax giveaways for billionaires. It gives trillions in handouts to the ultra-wealthy, billionaires and greedy corporations to the tune of $314,266 each every year for the top 0.1%. And that's an average. Some of them are going to get millions. That's a bigger giveaway to the ultra-rich than most people make in a year. And to pay for it, they're going to steal from you, the American people. They are stealing from you. They are betraying the people who voted for them. This is a betrayal on a scale I don't think we've ever seen before. And I am going to fight to expose it and to stop it. I've said this over and over and over again. We need tax relief for workers, not the ultra-rich. We need to preserve Social Security and Medicare, not gut them to pay for corporate handouts. We should protect Medicaid and food benefits for working families because we know these programs that people rely on and need when times get tough. So, Madam Speaker,
His time has expired.
Madam Speaker, you can shut me up.
The gentleman's time has expired. The gentleman is not recognized. Gentlelady from Indiana is recognized.
The tailored fiscal framework born within this budget resolution makes for what will be one of the most consequential pieces of legislation in modern history, as Chairman Arrington noted during his markup. At this very moment, our nation stands at a fiscal crossroads, one where we are beckoned to answer a simple yet pertinent question: what path will we choose to go down? The answer to that question is clear. We must embark upon a path that restores the fiscal health and vitality of the nation. This budget resolution is the primary vehicle to get us there.
There is nothing America first about this budget. This is about gutting programs that help everyday people so that Republicans can give more handouts to billionaires and special interests. I mean, I keep hearing Republicans run these ads about how their budget is going to put money in regular people's pockets. Talk about misleading. You conveniently forgot to mention that billions and billions this budget gives away to the ultra-rich. And you forgot to mention that you're stealing from regular people to do it. People will see their costs go up. In other words, everyday people, teachers, nurses, firefighters, police officers, farmers, plumbers, laborers are going to get screwed. And I've seen this before. I saw it in 2017, the last time Trump was in the White House. Republicans love rigging the economy for the ultra-wealthy. And today, here they are, keeping the gravy train rolling for billionaires, making it possible for them to pay a lower effective tax rate than the working people of this country. And by the way, you know who else loves this budget? The price-gouging corporations that have been squeezing families at the grocery store, at the gas pump, and on their rent checks. A lot of them pay nothing in taxes. They pay nothing. In fact, nearly 50 companies in the S&P 500 reported paying no income tax expenses in 2023. And you wouldn't dare do anything about that. And then Republicans have the nerve to lecture us about fiscal responsibility. They claim they care about the deficit, but they can't help themselves because this budget blows a massive hole in the deficit. You have $2.7 trillion, that's trillion with a T, in tax giveaways for the ultra-rich contained in this budget. And in the same breath, they're slashing programs that help everyday people. Oh, they're coming after Medicaid, and they're coming after Social Security, and they're coming after Medicare, and they're coming after SNAP, a program that ensures that kids and seniors do not go hungry. I mean, how cruel is that, to take away food from hungry people? And they don't care. And let's not beat around the bush, and let me say this as clearly as possible. This administration is already a complete and total disaster. We've heard for years from the other side about the importance of safeguarding classified information and the need to use secure channels. And last week we found out that Trump's entire national security team is just casually planning military operations on unsecured group threads that anyone could have access to. In fact, the Pentagon said Signal, the app they used, is vulnerable to hacking by our adversaries. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, our Vice President, and the President's Chief of Staff, our CIA and NSA directors, all of them swapping classified battle plans like school kids sending memes. This is nuts. I mean, based on public comments, one of the participants in Signalgate had the text going to his unattended personal phone back at home because he was in Moscow. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. And let me just lay out for people, this isn't just stupid, it's dangerous. 30 minutes before planes took off, our top government officials were putting out onto the internet details about their mission. Who was listening? We have no idea. Russia was probably listening. China was probably listening. Iran was listening. I'm sure tapping unsecured phones of our national security advisors is one of their top priorities. Doing this might have given our enemies a chance to position anti-aircraft resources or given a heads up to the targets that they should leave where they are because U.S. planes are on the way. They put the entire mission in jeopardy, and they put the lives of our troops in danger. We also know that apparently this wasn't the first time classified information was sent via unofficial channels. The Wall Street Journal is reporting that National Security Advisor Mike Waltz created and hosted several other sensitive national security conversations on Signal, including separate threads on how to broker peace between Russia and Ukraine. I mean, this is ridiculous. This is not a game, and there's still so much that we don't know. We need a full investigation to understand the scope of damage done and if there are other national security communications happening on unsecured channels. Those responsible must be held accountable, and Hegseth should resign immediately. Immediately. We have two other measures here designed to make big banks even richer at the expense of working people. Again, you can't make this stuff up. With all the problems of the world, Republicans want to make it easier for your bank to charge you unfair fees. And then there's the so-called No Rogue Rulings Act. It's a blatant power grab to gut the courts. If a judge doesn't bow down to Trump or Republicans' extremist agenda, Republicans want to strip that judge's authority. That's nuts. If this were happening in another country, our State Department would condemn it. This regime is marching toward authoritarianism, trying to trample over the courts and undermine the rule of law. And we are absolutely not going to let that happen without a fight. Democrats want to lower costs, protect workers, expand health care, and invest in a future where everyone, not just rich Republican megadonors, can thrive. And we will not stand by while extremists try to dismantle our democracy and sell out working Americans. The American people deserve better, and we will keep fighting to make sure they get it. I yield back.
Last night at the Rules Committee, we caught Democrats dead to rights. A Democrat tried to refer to the alleged, quote, cuts, end quote, in our debate, but instead admitted that, quote, it's not there, end quote. That's right. It's not in the budget resolution. You simply cannot find programmatic cuts in any respect. And I stand here to tell the truth about this budget and the rule we need to get it across the line. From shielding Americans from the greatest tax increase in history to supporting the military, allocating resources to the Trump administration to secure the border, to trimming wasteful programs, our budget resolution has solutions that the American people expect and demand. President Trump specifically requested one big, beautiful bill, and the House Republicans have answered that request with a constructive, full-bodied product. Now let's juxtapose our beautiful bill with the failed reconciliation schemes passed by Democrat Congresses. They used it to pass Obamacare, robbing Medicare of over $700 billion of funds in the process and kicking Americans off their health insurance plans after promising to keep them. They hijacked the process to pass the so-called American Rescue Plan to waste over $2 trillion in taxpayer funds, fueling the greatest inflation rates in generations. And lastly, they used the reconciliation process just a few years ago to pass one of the worst pieces of legislation in the modern era, the so-called Inflation Reduction Act. That catastrophe of a bill was a one-way ticket to financial ruin. It wasted money on green energy schemes, punished companies that proudly develop American energy, and ironically drove up costs on every American family.
Mr. Speaker, the gentlelady is talking about what was said in the Rules Committee last night. I want to take a couple of minutes to talk about how people voted in the Rules Committee last night. We gave Republicans a chance last night in the Rules Committee. We said if they really don't believe that this budget cuts funding for school meals, if they really believe what they're saying, then they can vote to assure the American people that they're not going to steal school meals from kids in order to give tax breaks for millionaires. Every Republican voted no, every single one of them. Then Democrats offered an amendment to protect Medicaid. And Medicaid, as you know, Mr. Speaker, covers 41% of all births in the United States, nearly half of children with special health care needs, and 5 in 8 nursing home residents. We asked them not to cut Medicaid in order to fund tax breaks for billionaires. Every Republican voted no. Then Democrats offered an amendment to extend tax cuts for people making under $400,000 while ensuring that corporations and billionaires pay their fair share. We asked Republicans to continue tax cuts for only those who need them the most, because those are the tax cuts they let expire while their tax cuts for greedy corporations were made permanent. We asked them to prioritize working families over greedy corporations. Every Republican voted no. Then Democrats offered an amendment preventing tax giveaways for people earning over $1 million a year. Every Republican voted no. We wanted to see if there was anyone so rich that Republicans don't think they deserve a tax giveaway. So we asked them to vote against tax breaks for people earning over $100 million per year. We asked them to side with factory workers and firefighters over hedge fund managers and billionaire bankers. Every Republican voted no. We even offered an amendment preventing tax cuts for people with a net worth of over, get this, $1 billion. Every Republican voted no. They betrayed their constituents. They voted to steal from the American people in order to protect tax breaks for billionaires. Again, this is about whose side you're on. And Republicans showed us last night with their votes whose side they're on. And it's not the working people of this country. I reserve my time.
President Trump specifically requested, quote, one big, beautiful bill, end quote, and House Republicans have answered that request with a constructive, full-bodied product. This blueprint is a framework on which Congress can deliver the agenda the American people want and deserve. Despite what my Democrat colleagues are likely to assert, it doesn't contain any specific programmatic assumptions or cuts. Let me repeat that. It does not contain any specific programmatic assumptions or cuts. The committees are left to determine best their priorities when meeting their instructions. In short, beckoning back to my earlier remarks, we are at a crossroads. Do we embrace a pro-growth, pro-America first, pro-taxpayer budget that puts us on a sustainable path, or do we embrace the failed policies of the last 4 years? I say the choice is clear, and we need to get to work. Now we'll turn to our two Congressional Review Act resolutions. H.J. Res. 20 would overturn the Department of Energy's previous rule that would ban certain natural gas water heaters from the marketplace. The department's rule is entirely misguided and acts as a cudgel against consumer choice and would deal a serious blow to seniors and low-income households. Republicans understand that consumer choice is not something to be trifled with. Consumer choice plays an integral role in our domestic marketplace, and it must be respected. H.J. Res. 35 would overturn the Environmental Protection Agency's previous rule that would impose a significant fee against oil and natural gas facilities if their respective methane emissions exceed specific and entirely arbitrary levels. Nothing about this fee is sensible. It reduces domestic energy production, increases our nation's reliance on foreign energy sources, raises prices, and hamstrings consumers who will ultimately bear the brunt of the cost. Like the water heater rule, this rule should be sent straight to the grave and forgotten about. The nation is locked into a new and better trajectory under the leadership of President Trump and our Republican majorities in the House and Senate. We've been given a mandate to protect consumers, and we have no intention of letting it fall to the wayside. With that, I look forward to today's discussion, and I now yield to the ranking member, Mr. McGovern, for any comments he wishes to make.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair, and let me welcome our witnesses as well. And let me just begin by saying I actually read the budget, and it will come as no surprise to anybody here that I've come to a different conclusion about this budget than the chair of this committee. The sheer magnitude of the cuts that are proposed in this budget are going to hurt regular people and a lot of the people that I represent. So today we're here to discuss the Republican budget, a budget, in my opinion, that is a betrayal of the middle class. There is nothing America first about this budget. This is about gutting programs that help everyday people so that Republicans can give more handouts to billionaires and special interests. They're coming after every single thing that matters to people who work hard and keep this country going. In short, this bill is not about helping regular people. It's about helping the billionaires and price gougers who funded Republican campaigns. Wages for working people have been stagnant for decades. Everything from gas to groceries keeps getting more expensive. Eggs are like $10 a dozen in some places, and we haven't seen a damn thing to bring down costs. It's all handouts to their donors, while everyday people fight to just stay above water. This budget does not invest in working families, it robs them. It doesn't strengthen our economy, it weakens it by making it harder for regular people to get ahead. Plain and simple, Republicans are betraying the middle class. Democrats have a very different vision, one that puts regular people in front of billionaires. We care about working people who can't afford rent. We care about the people who get their hands dirty on the job and are pissed off that billionaires are able to pay lower effective taxes than they do. And we care about the nurses and the teachers and the police officers and the firefighters and the waiters and waitresses and cashiers who deserve better than this Republican budget that screws them over. It is insulting. It is insulting. Democrats want tax relief for workers, not the ultra-rich. Democrats believe in protecting Social Security and Medicare, not gutting them to pay for corporate tax handouts. And Democrats support Medicaid and SNAP because we know these programs are essential for keeping millions of Americans who live on the brink from falling off the cliff. And we all know trickle-down economics doesn't work. After the last round of Trump tax cuts that gave companies billions in tax breaks, those companies didn't spend that money on their workers or building new infrastructure. They spent it on stock buybacks to enrich their wealthy shareholders. For example, T-Mobile almost paid nothing in federal income taxes in 2023, but spent $13 billion on stock buybacks, which is why we should grow our economy from the bottom up and not the top down. This Republican budget is about choices, and they're choosing billionaires over teachers and nurses, for God's sakes. They're choosing corporate greed over struggling families. They're choosing to make life harder for the people who do the real hard work in this country. And they're blowing up the national debt while they're at it. Only these guys, Trump and Elon and the MAGA clown show in Congress, could find a way to cut hundreds of billions of dollars in spending on critical and essential programs that help people, and yet still blow up the national debt. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. The American people deserve better. They deserve a government that works for them, and not just the wealthiest elite and those at the top. And I ask my colleagues, have any of you been in your districts lately? Have you talked to people? I mean, real people, as opposed to just political donors? This is not what people want. I promise you, this is not what people want. And Democrats are going to expose this corruption and grift, and we're going to fight like hell to stop it. I yield back.